Novak Djokovic suffers from coronavirus. What a surprise. There's going to be a huge waiting list for hairdressers. What am I going to do about that? And there's going to be driverless taxis in Britain by a Chinese firm by 2030. All this and more on The Voice of London. Hello, welcome to another Voice of London with me, Ian Pelham Turner, on ALB UK Television and positivebritain.co.uk. Well, today I'm with Buki Olafama and Michael Spooner, our two regular contributors who add so much value to all our shows.
Thanks for having us.
I think we're going to start off today with Novak Djokovic. Now, he was saying, there's no problems. There's no problems with coronavirus. Off he goes, swinging his racket around, linking arms with people. And what happens?
He gets corona.
He gets coronavirus. Yeah. What do you think about people at the moment? Let's start off with Buki. What do you think about people at the moment who break the rules because they think they know better?
Well, that's the problem, you know, for it to work and for us to, you know, get out of a, you know, just to get out of a place where we're not burdening the NHS, we need to follow the rules. We need to have the social distance. We need to make sure people are washing their hands. And we can't, for it to work, everybody has to be involved. And you see when people do break the rules, these sort of things happen.
Do you know, I must admit, I walked to the studio, I walked through a park when I'm walking to the studio here, and I was amazed this afternoon. There were 8 men sat in a circle in the shade under a tree, and they were right next to one another. There was no distancing at all. Michael, what do you think about all this, you know, situation at the moment, especially with, you know, Novak Djokovic? What do you think gets into people's heads that they seem to feel that they can actually overcome issues like this?
Well, Ian, look, think about it. They have been locked down for 3 months. I think people get a bit exuberant, a bit. It's very hard for people to control themselves. So some of it's about self-control. Some of it's about people wanting to see their loved ones, wanting to see their partners, wanting to go out, and it's very unusual when it's something that we've not had before, Ian, where the government has actually asked people to stay in their houses.
But don't you think, I mean, coming just back to the point for a second, you know, most sportsmen seem to recognise coronavirus.
Yes, they do.
Why do you feel that he feels that he didn't need to recognise this?
I actually think clearly he's going to be, I reckon he's going to lose his top position, because, you know, he's president of the APT or whatever they call the thing, but I think he's going to lose that position, in my opinion. But he clearly he judged things badly. He didn't respect the procedure that all of us, Buki and me and you, we have complied with it. He didn't respect his fellow colleagues in the tennis community and all the people that go in there. So no, he did wrong, and I don't.
And when you think at the moment, the reality that Andy Murray's brother, Jamie Murray, is doing another tennis tour himself.
Yes.
No problems. Everything has been well thought out beforehand. All the rules about self-distancing, sanitizations, all the things that are necessary, going to do it. So hopefully British people seem to understand how to keep the rules.
They just stick, well, look, it's part of our culture that I would say 95% of British people stay within the rules. They comply. We may not like it. We may not. We might have something to say about it, but we do comply. It's something that's part of our culture. The government knows it, and the government was quite endeared because the British people actually kept
absolutely
the rules.
Now then, we move on to one of my pet subjects. People, I have to come here, and by the time I walk a mile and a half in the blistering is the only word I can call it, sunshine at the moment. It's like someone has thrown a bucket of water over me, and I have to. And people laugh at me because I have to dry my hair off. Now, very shortly, there's going to be this mile-long queue for people to want to get their hair done. Now, I remember that one of the first countries to open up hairdressers again was New Zealand. And people were queuing up from midnight the night before just to get their haircut. Buki, am I the only one who is starting to suffer because of this hair situation?
Honestly, it's a worry on everyone's mind. My friend 4 weeks ago made certain that her hairdresser had her name on the top of the list, and she was to be served when all the hairdressers are back to normal. So it's a very real concern for people, you know.
And for the life of me, why hairdressers? It's almost like the government has thought of this Machiavellian way of making us feel even worse than we do already. You know, push the population down, flatten them, so they don't want to come out. You know, I'm starting to look. I can't tell you the amount of pressure I feel at the moment with even my hair. You know, and it takes me hours now, even just to get it sort of Michael.
Yeah.
Now, I realise that you've not got quite as much.
I was fortunate, Ian, to get rid of all my hair cut. I got a haircut. They had to cut my hair on the street in the outdoors because of the rules and regs that we had.
Right.
So I had about a week, 7 days ago. I got a barber. Because barbers you weren't allowed to go into their shops, Ian.
No.
So they came. He actually said, I can't cut you inside the building, but I can cut you outside there.
And it makes you wonder. I mean,
they're like the Cray twins.
I know. I'm just going to say.
And they cut my hair. I know. And it was great stuff.
Where have we got to in this country when we have to sneak out?
I had to sneak out
in the dead of night.
It was at night.
And hopefully the clippers won't make too much noise, so people wondering what on earth is going on.
It was 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. It's been a lot of DIY going on. You know, people have butchered their hairstyles, having a go on themselves and their kids and their partners, and it hasn't always been a success story.
Yes. So I think. Look, I was outside, and I was just grateful for any kind of haircut. If I could do it myself, I would. But he came around, he did it, but he said I'm only allowed to do it outside, and even then, you got to pay in cash. That was what it was.
I don't think we better take this conversation.
But we should move
further. I think we may have the law around it.
we should move on. But
we should move on.
We have to pay cash.
We should move on. Now then, I found this by sheer example yesterday. There's a story apparently it's a ride-hailing firm called Didi Xuxing from China.
Oh, okay.
And they're planning to put 1 million self-driving vehicles for taxis across the world, including Britain, by 2030.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I mean, I suppose I've got used to both things. You know, I've got the internet. I've got a mobile phone or something. But I wonder, how would you, Buki, first of all, how would you feel in a few years' time? You call Uber or you call someone and there's no one there in the car. You just climb in there and hopefully it's going to go in the right direction.
Well, I'm not going to be the first ones to be tested a doubt on it. I'm telling you. I'll wait a while. If it goes well, there's been, all good stories, then I'll give it a try. But I won't be queuing out.
I mean, it's just the thought of it, because I know Google have spent a fortune on street analysts and so forth. But and I know there are cars that if they analyse that someone has stepped out into the street. But in all seriousness, Michael, obviously people who have lost their sight.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you know, I did the same thing the other day, and I must confess this. I was deep in thought, and I started walking across the street, and I didn't realise that one of these cars that don't have any sound at all were coming down the street.
Yeah.
And I think, I shouldn't have done this in the first place. I should have been much more careful. It was my fault. But for people like yourself as well, the first of all, there must be a problem now if you're walking out somewhere, you can't physically hear a lot of the traffic anymore.
Yeah.
But if there's no driver,
yes.
I think you're going to have wear a beacon on your shoulder or something.
Exactly.
How do people with a disability feel about something like this?
Well, I think it's my opinion is that first they're going to have to put some kind of noise or indicator or sound that's going to indicate cars coming, because it's not just blind people. It's lots of people are gonna find it. We actually deliberately listen to cars, and when you're crossing the road and you're trying to get across the other side, you actually do a lot. You do a bit of sight, but you do a lot of sound as well.
Sure.
And they do need to do it. So there's a bit of that. And then, but I do think that the innovation with the silent, the electric car is a fantastic thing, Ian. It's something that we're gonna. When I move out of the CV19 and I move out of this recession that we're in, and we go into the next 2 to 3 years, and we build our technology, I think we are going to see lots of. Bookie will be driving her car.
But Bookie may not be driving her car.
She does drive. She will be driving the car.
It may be clicking her fingers.
She'll be driving her car, and she'll be.
I think her father will be worried.
Okay, she'll be driving her car and charging up, and going all over the country. She'll be doing all of that stuff. I think it's something, and I mean, maybe Ian, you might get a car.
No, I think that
maybe not
my date, but it's
Bookie's definitely going to get a car.
It's just the thought process for me of obviously before these types of cars, driverless taxis happen.
Yes.
Then obviously they've got to deal with say bad road conditions, snow, ice, and that type of thing as well. Because how are they going to self-right themselves in situations like that?
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it was a very interesting thing to think about what on earth would I climb. I read this article and I thought I looked at the top of the date because I thought it was April the 1st. I thought it was April Fool's Day again for me, but no. It was yesterday's paper that was saying that driverless taxis will be in Britain by 2030.
Good.
We now go on to 2 metre, but it's not.
Yes.
Social distancing. Take it away, Bookie.
Yeah.
Well, Boris Johnson has announced under his review, of the lockdown, and some of the changes that will be coming is what he calls his 1+ meter rule. So it's, along with other changes, we know on the, July the 4th, restaurants will be...
Britain's Independence Day.
Britain's Independence Day.
Exactly.
That's got to be a Dominic Cummings...
Of course.
That's right. Restaurants will be open, hairdressers will be open, pubs will be open. So, and it's, it's a sort of way to just get the economy back on track and to just really help support businesses. But with this 1 meter plus social distancing rule, I do worry, because I just think, yes, numbers have been recorded as down with active cases and people dying, but I just wonder, are we ready for a possible a possible second wave of coronavirus? Because, it is a lot of burden on the NHS and, all those on the front line. They're already struggling with what's happening at the moment. Yes, we want to get the economy back on track, but at what cost? I feel like everything's been rushed along. And from now, they've encouraged people to have a plus 1 metre distance. 2 metres where necessary, but it can be up to 1 metre. And I just wonder, are we ready with China having a second wave and other cases Germany also reported to have it? Are we ready for that? Is it too early?
I think it's a complete cop-out by the government. That's what I really think, because they're not making this as a rule. They're making this as an observation that people should try and do this. Now, 1 metre plus, what does that mean? First of all, that's a nonsense factor, in the first place. To sort of say this is just a recommendation, that's not government. That's not government. That's putting the onus of any coronavirus sufferer in, catching the virus on the person themselves. Now, where is the government in all of this anyway, in the first place? Where is, things like the test, track and tracing that we were talking about? The reality at the moment, as I understand the figures right now, is that the test, tracking and tracing system is only tracking 1/3 per day of the people who are suffering from coronavirus. 1/3. So the other 2/3 are wandering around. Why is this happening? And I think the reality, I understand getting people back to work. The government have done such a great job in frightening people that a lot of people now, I think, may even have mental health issues about walking back into a work environment. I know a lot of people who do right now, who are afraid, literally afraid of catching this virus and dying from it as well. And, when I look at the statistics of people of colour, how much they are twice or 4 times the amount to catch this virus as well, and you look at the figures, because it's 43,000 are the confirmed cases, but it's over 63,000 with unusual amount of deaths in this period. I still think the government is, in reality, it's trying to push the problem away from a situation where they mismanaged this in the first place. There's no two ways about it. Come clean, tell us you mismanaged it, tell us why you mismanaged it, because I suspect they just didn't care about it and they were looking at other things. Come clean, and at least, the only thing I've looked at with Matt Hancock that I've found of interest, at long last, he's actually told the truth and said, we spent £12 million trying to make this testing, this tracing app, and that's gone. It's not working. And why? Because they knew from the start, they were told by Apple and Google that in reality they weren't compatible. These systems weren't compatible. How many more mistakes has a government got to do? How many more deaths should be on their hands? Because that's really what it is. It's deaths on their hands. They have blood on their hands, I think, this government right now. What do you think, Michael?
Well, look, okay, I agree with your sentiment. I agree with you and Bookie's argument about it. But what I'm, as a business advisor and consultant to support people in doing their business, I really do want people to realise that, look, Ian, they need to there's about risk assessment. Each of us, Bookie and you do a risk assessment every day. You come out your house.
But the reality, but can businesses, and that's the point, how often
Yeah.
can a business do a risk assessment every day?
No. What they
because,
need
because
to
there's no real rules.
No, they need to just do there's a risk assessment about saying, look, okay, we need to do this. They have to be safety first for the staff, safety first for their customers. They have to look at the economic legitimacy of them trading and going forward. But what I'm just saying is that we have to, ultimately, this country, yes, we've got this virus and it's a terrible thing. And I want the government, I would be the biggest critic of the government they could have done better. But ultimately, Ian, we have to get back to work. We have to earn money. Yeah. This country, look, we're losing 2.5 billion pounds a day, shutting down the economy.
I get the business. I get the business side of it.
And I'm just saying, we just do need to give individuals the information and the support
but you see, that's the
to
problem.
make that
that's the problem.
to make that decision.
The problem,
to risk assess
the problem, as I see it, is we went into lockdown way too late.
Of course we did.
We had no PPE really.
Yes, we did.
Of any description at all.
You're correct.
We only expected 20,000 deaths. It's up to 44,000 deaths.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the reality now is someone walks into a shop and they've got coronavirus.
All right.
Then that shop has to close down because of it.
I know.
Now, the reality then, from now on, is that the government is saying, that's not our responsibility anymore.
Yeah,
All our responsibility is for
the transfer
for tracking.
Yeah.
Thing. So if they have to lay off their shop workers, they're expecting the shop to pay for that. So in reality, it is a continuous cop-out by this government. Let's call it what it is. It's a continuous cop-out by this government who have caused a major issue in the first place by not being responsible. And now they're trying to wriggle out of this whole situation.
I agree with you, Ian.
All I'm saying is not going to help business, it's going to hurt business.
I agree with you, but all I'm saying, Ian, is that they will ultimately, Boris Johnson is my best friend, but if he's the Prime Minister, we just need to get the country moving in the direction we want. We have to get these people, individuals, consumers, clients, coming out of their homes, buying things that they want to buy, because, see, ultimately, we're going to be living with this virus, Ian.
Can I just go back to Brookie for a second? Because that's a very important point.
Young,
your age group, are they going to go out and buy again?
Me personally, I think we've just, this whole idea of go back to normal, I think it's too soon. Me personally, I've just been online shopping, everything I need. That's how I doing it at the moment, and that's how I intend to do it for the next at least 2 months. It's been, with certain shops actually, from time being resumed, we saw, in the papers, there were huge queues for shops, and it was a lot of the younger generation. But I don't feel everyone feels that way, and I don't think everybody is doing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's a conversation we will be having, no doubt, for some time.
Yeah.
I agree. I want to get Britain back to work, but I want to keep Britain alive as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
At the same time.
That's it.
I'm with you, Ian. I'm with you.
Anyway, we're moving on to something that you have looked at, Michael, the Casey review. Tell me, what is pertinent and how does it work with Black Lives Matter at the moment?
All right. Well, what Casey did in 2016, Louise Casey, she did a review for the current government at the time. Would have been a Conservative government, not the Johnson government at the moment. It would have been the David Cameron government, I suspect. And they looked at the issues around opportunity and integration, and this whole thing about community integration, Ian. Now, we have Black Lives Matter now. This is the reason why I think it's prescient it's looking ahead. It's something that we need to revisit at Positive Britain, and we should revisit it on this show.
So are they saying that social deprivation is a major cause?
Social and economic deprivation and poverty, a lot of the issues around that underpin race inequalities, the things that we don't like, me and you, and Bookie doesn't like, and the things that we see on the TV, and the things that upset us, and the vulnerabilities that we see that lead us to bumping up with the police. A lot of that stuff is all about social and economic exclusion, social inequalities. Some of that stuff, and she did a fantastic job in 2016. Some of the recommendations have been touched on, but I would say half of them have not been integrated.
If we just broaden this out for a second, because are you saying all citizens, white, black, brown, are all facing this same issue?
Yeah, but look, the discrimination and I would say white men are really suffering more than black men. See, this is the shocking part, is that in our country today, it isn't just about Black Lives Matter. We have white young men that are struggling, Ian, are economically challenged, have problems with employment and unemployment. And so what I want the government, I want society, I want us to explore, and I'll be exploring this, and Positive Britain will be exploring this. It's about how we can bring people together. I want the government to look at class discrimination, Ian.
Okay.
I think class discrimination is the biggest thing.
Can I just bring it, because there's been in the past few days, there was a football match between Burnley and Manchester City, and then someone flew over when they were taking the knee with White Lives Matter. So Bookie, now the problem with that phrase is that all lives matter. You know, let's be honest, and I think we all care about each other. All lives matter. But the problem with that phrase, White Lives Matter, really has been taken over by extreme right-wing organisations. So when you see something like that, does it hit you? Does it hurt you just to see something like that being flown around?
Well, I think, the purpose the person did it was to drown out the major issue, the major problem, that is affecting a lot of black people, and to overtake the message that they're trying to put forward and address and get people to take seriously. That in itself is a concern.
So, as I say, because we're going to wind up now, we're coming in at the end of our time. So I think for me personally, I want all people in Britain to feel like first-class citizens.
Exactly.
Irrespective of race, religion, creed, colour, whatever it might be, because that is very important. I'm hoping that this coronavirus may make us a more positive, tolerant race to come out of as well. I think that's very, very important. So, guys, thank you so much, Bookie. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you,
today.
Ian. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So that's another edition of Voice of London from me, Ian Pelham Turner, Bookie Olafami and Michael Spooner. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's a show that is very, very responsible as well. We want to get as much public opinion as we can on this show to actually really highlight all the different values that all the communities bring to this country. So from me, Ian Pelham Turner from ALB UK Television and positivebritain.co.uk, and my two guests, have a great day. It's bye for now.
Thank you.